And we are back with the fifth and the final segment of the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this final segment, we're going to be recapping all of the games, the NBA games that took place yesterday. And then we're going to go into the predictions for the in-season tournament games that are going to be happening today, as well as the potential outcomes for a lot of these games. Now, let's go right ahead because we are a little bit low on time. The Mavericks, they ended up beating the Atlanta Hawks. Kyrie had 32 points. There was no Klay Thompson in this game, and it seems like they did not really need him. And he was the biggest player for this team. Trae Young ended with 18 points and 16 assists, but again, just wasn't enough for the Dallas Mavericks. To go up against the Mavericks. Zachary Resacher, 2 for 8, 5 points. Just an awful number 1 overall pick in this draft so far. Despite this, however, it would seem like the Hawks, they still lead in the division that they're in. In the group that they're in, excuse me. And they're 2-1 right now, and they're ahead of the Boston Celtics because they ended up beating the Celtics. So as of right now, they're the top team in their respective group play, but we'll go ahead and I'll do that a little bit later because it is a little bit tough to explain. Yesterday, the Knicks completely destroyed the Denver Nuggets. OG Anunoby ended with 40 points. Brunson ended with 23 and 17, and Karl Anthony Towns ended with 30 points and 15 rebounds. I think the Timberwolves made a huge mistake in getting rid of Karl Anthony Towns. And it was literally like, okay, this team, they were one series away from making the finals. Let's trade away our second best player. Nikola Jokic, he dropped 22, 7, and 7, but it wasn't enough to beat the Knicks. I believe Russell Westbrook had 24 points in the fourth quarter, which is the most points in a quarter that he's ever scored. He was the leading scorer for the entirety of the Nuggets, 27 points, along with 3 assists and 3 rebounds and 2 steals, along with 1 block. Just an overall solid performance. He also shot 9 for 16. Great game coming in from Russ. And the Warriors, they ended up losing to the Brooklyn Nets, a game that I was very surprised to see. Steph Curry ended with 28 points, and Dennis Schroeder ended with 31 points. Now, it should be noted that in this game, the Warriors were up by 18 points midway through the third quarter. Then the Brooklyn Nets called a timeout. After that timeout, the Nets went on a 57-29 run and came out with the win, which is incredible. Like that is ridiculous. And it's the Warriors, maybe the Warriors are slowing down. We'll see how it goes, but it would seem like they're slowing down. But again, a little bit early to tell. The Pistons, they ended up beating the Raptors. That's a real shocker in my opinion. I did not expect the Raptors to lose this, especially with Scotty Barnes dropping 31 and 14. Very good for fantasy, by the way. But again, this was just a ridiculous win coming in from the Pistons. I mean, it was a really close one, 102-100. I did not expect that. Now, Orlando Magic, they ended up beating the Hornets 95-84. LaMelo Ball dropped 44 points and he still lost. 44 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. LaMelo is incredible at basketball. He is what you call a hooper. That is what you call him. He is a hooper. He had 30 points in a previous matchup and he's lost. He had 50 points against Milwaukee and he lost. And now he had 44 against Orlando and still lost. It is ridiculous the amount of points he's able to produce and the team still can't win. Pacers, they end up beating the Pelicans. They ended up winning 114-110. Halliburton dropped 34 and 13. And really I didn't expect this game to be all that close, but again, the Pacers, they don't have competent defense. The Celtics, they ended up beating the Clippers. As we know, this was Kristaps' return, and they did not disappoint. This game was really never close, 126-94. The Grizzlies, John Morant's return, ended up beating the Portland Trailblazers 123 to 98. Again, another game that was never really close. The Thunder, despite not having Chet Holmgren, did not really seem all that affected, as SGA dropped 37 points and 11 assists and ended up beating the Kings. And I mean, the Kings, they are not figuring it out. And 30 points from DeRozan, 14 points coming in from De'Aaron Fox. Again, this was a team that I was rather skeptical about because they rely heavily on 2-point shots and mid-range jump shots as opposed to shooting 3-pointers. And they went 8 for 32 from 3 in this game. And it's really not looking good for the Kings right now. I mean, DeMar being on the team, you can argue that it makes little difference. You can argue that it actually hurts the team a bit more because, again, the 3 best players on the team are elite at scoring 2-pointers, not scoring 3-pointers, which is not ideal anymore. So those are the recaps for last night's game. It was quick because I do want to get into tonight's games. And now the in-season tournament and their standings right now. Orlando holds the number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference thanks to a point differential. Milwaukee holds the number 2 spot, surprisingly, and the Hawks hold the 3 spot. And the wild card, which is the 4th spot, is held for the Knicks, who are also flawless in this in the in-season tournament games. Now, on the Western Conference, the Warriors have already clinched a spot in the in-season tournament. They're the only team that has clinched. Houston is 2-0, and they're waiting to play Minnesota to see if they clinch as well. The Lakers are also 2-0. The Lakers are undefeated in the in-season tournament, by the way, and they are 2-0 right now and the only reason why they are not in like the 2nd spot is due to a point differential from Houston. And the Mavericks, they are 2-1 and they hold the wild card spot as well. Now, in these games, the games that are going to be going down today, the Lakers, they're going to match up against the Suns. I believe if the Lakers win this matchup, then they're going to clinch the in-season tournament. They play away at 10 p.m., on TNT, and I think the Lakers are going to come out on top with this one. I have no idea whether or not Kevin Durant is going to be playing. I also don't know if Bradley Beal is going to be playing, but if they do play, then it might seem like it would seem like they're going to be able to beat the Lakers, but I have faith in LeBron. I have faith in Anthony Davis. I think the Lakers are going to be able to win this matchup. Next, the Wizards, they're going to go up against the Bulls. I'm going to pick the Bulls in this matchup. The Bucks, they're going to match up against the Heat. Even though the Bucks are playing really well right now, I am still not going to pick them. I'm going to pick the Heat. I do not have faith in the Bucks. And I think the Heat are going to be able to come out on top in this matchup. Again, if I'm wrong, then so be it. I like seeing Giannis thrive. But again, I just have no real faith in the Bucks and in that team. I put my faith in them in the beginning of the season. I can't do that now, especially with Doc and Darvin Ham as their coach. Now, the Timberwolves, they're going to match up against Houston. If Houston wins this, then I believe they clinch as well, and they'll end up hosting, well, not really hosting, but they'll end up earning a spot in the in-season tournament game. And they're going up against the Timberwolves. I think Houston is going to end up winning this matchup. And finally, the Spurs, they're going to go up against the Jazz. I'm going to pick the Spurs in this matchup. The Spurs, they've been on a roll recently. They're finally a positive team. They're 9-8 right now. And the Jazz, they're 4-12. I think the Spurs are going to come out on top in this matchup. So that's all that I have on this 5th segment, and that's it for the show. Thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. As usual, we love to hear what you guys have to say during the show, whether it's a hot take, a burning question, or anything that you're just dying to share. We're all ears. And if you really want your comment and or question to get noticed, then you can use Super Chat. You just click on the $ below the chat box. And if Super Chat's not really your thing, you can always use the link displayed below the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. Really helps the show, makes it much more interactive between myself and you guys. That's all that I have today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna